Hello, fellow viewers.
Previously on George Origins.
There was a mysterious animal said to be in the basement, and when I went to go investigate and set up a trap, it turned out to be an opossum. Today's video will continue that story. Welcome back. So, after finding this creature, capturing it, and securing it, it was time to decide what happens next to him. So I went upstairs because I was fascinated by this exquisite mammal, and I went to the bathroom to see if he can walk around. But
He started moving like this.
And this obviously isn't a good sign. It's a sign of injury, most likely head injury, since opossums may circle about a bit if they're struck in the head hard enough. George was extremely weak. He was literally dragging his body along the floor to walk. And I'm sure with him being stuck in the basement, the only food he had to rely on was the bait that I put in the trap. In other words, he's malnourished. So the options that I was looking at here was that I could give him a little bit of food and send him on his way. But this was quite a big problem, and if you don't see it, I could just zoom in. Bones.
Bones?
And more bones.
Can you guess whose bones these are? You guessed it. Opossum bones. After examining the bones, I could tell that they came from a young opossum that was a bit older than George. But the massacre of this opossum was most likely caused by a raccoon or a stray cat. So this option was obviously off the list. And my other option would be giving George up to a place that could possibly take care of him. But the problem I found in that is that it would be quite a bit of work to take care of an opossum, especially with head trauma. And depending on your area, some places just might not care as much as others. So if they see an opossum like this, they would easily jump to the option of But I obviously didn't want that for George, especially with him being so young, and I can tell that he could get better. And repeating his name just now reminded me that George is named after George Jones, an American singer. But the name wasn't my idea, it was my dad's idea. But George Jones had a nickname called the Possum because apparently he looked like an opossum to some people. So my final and most obvious option would be taking care of George myself. Since I was somewhat responsible for the state that George was in, but at the same time I ended up saving him, I had to, at that time, become a single father for George. In this photo again, George was obviously still and very weak, so I played some gospel music for him, and that seemed to cheer him up. But after his music session, it was straight to the bath, since he most likely had fleas. Stay still, bruh. With George in his weakened state, he was easier to clean than I thought he would be. I'd expected George to squirm around or even try to bite, but he did none of those things, just moved a tiny bit. George had a lot of fleas on him. I know it was more than 10, maybe at least 20. The whole process with me cleaning George and making sure that all the fleas were out of him took around 30 minutes, but it was all very much worth it to make George more comfortable and to keep me safe. Not sure what the fleas had on him, but George was obviously suffering when I found him. George almost looks like a toy in this video, but his tail is also very pink, nothing compared to how he looks when he's an adult. With George being so well-mannered, I was able to scrub him well with soap and wash him thoroughly. After George had the soap and the filth out of him, he looks like this. A little bit after this video, when I was washing him off, he squirmed a bit and dunked himself in the water, so I guess he was baptized in a way, but he looked happy about it. But like I said before, cleaning George was a very necessary thing to do, and the transformation looks nice. He went from looking like this to this. But as you can see, George's transformation was very noticeable. And this about concludes the second part of the George origin story. I could continue to talk about how his life was, but I guess it would be called George's life at that point. But to fully tell the story of George, I shall continue to do this. Thank you all for sticking around and watching till the end. And as always, stay safe and well, and may God bless you.